Welcome to Ghordan, Dark Tales. Previously, the Parker family arrived at the isolated and ominous Ghordan Inn, seeking a brief refuge. Despite sensing that something was terribly wrong, they decided to stay, unaware of the horrors lurking within. Encouraged by Lily, the youngest daughter, they ventured into the depths of the forest. What they found were traces of ancient rituals and whispers of supernatural secrets hidden within the shadows. But then, the unimaginable happened. Noah, their eldest son, vanished without a trace. Something, or someone, inhuman, stalks the forest. Desperate cries for help echoed through the night, leaving the family terrified and torn apart. And now, as the darkness deepens, Emily must face the unknown, where every shadow hides a secret and every step could be her last. From this moment on, you are about to step into the world of Ghordan, where the darkest secrets are waiting to be uncovered. For the best experience, put on your headphones, close your eyes, and let the fear take over.
The forest swallowed their cries, the silence broken only by Sarah's desperate shouts.
Noah!
Oh, no. No. No.
Her voice echoed through the trees, only to be met with oppressive silence. Emily and Lily stood frozen, their wide eyes filled with fear. John gripped Sarah's shoulder, his face strained but firm.
Sarah, we need to head back to the inn. Staying out here in the dark won't help Noah.
You want me to just leave him out here? My son is missing, John.
John's jaw tightened as he scanned the encroaching darkness, his voice softening as he tried to reason with her.
I'll now keep looking, but you all need to get back to the inn. It's safer there, please.
This doesn't make sense. He was right here. How could he disappear so fast?
Lily clung to her sister, her gaze fixed on the shadows between the trees, as though expecting Noah to reappear. A cold wind swept through the forest, carrying a faint rustling sound that seemed to come from nowhere.
Fine, we'll go. But you come back as soon as you can, John. Promise me.
With hesitant steps, Sarah, Emily, and Lily turned back toward the inn. John lingered behind, shouting Noah's name one last time into the void.
Noah? Noah? Do you hear me? Hey! Hey, Noah? Noah? Where are you?
The walk back felt endless, the once familiar path twisting unnaturally beneath their feet. The forest seemed alive, the gnarled trees leaning inward as if to block their way.
Mom, do you think he's okay? What if something took him?
He's fine. He just got lost. Your father will find him.
As they approached the clearing where the inn should have been, dread settled in Emily's chest. Something was wrong.
Wait, where's the car?
What happened here?
The spot where they had parked was empty. Not even tire tracks remained. But that wasn't the worst of it. The inn itself had changed. The once weathered exterior was now grotesque, with deep cracks running along the walls as though the building itself had aged a century in hours. Dark stains too red to be rust streaked the peeling paint. Vines and dead ivy clung to the sides, their brittle tendrils wrapped tightly around the rotting wood. The air was thick with the choking stench of mildew and decay.
It didn't look like this when we left.
The windows, which had once been clouded but intact, were now shattered, jagged shards of glass catching the faint light of the moon. Shadows moved unnaturally inside, as though the inn was alive, breathing in the darkness.
I don't want to go in there. It's worse than before.
We don't have a choice. We need to wait for your father and Noah.
Stepping onto the porch, the floorboards groaned under their weight, threatening to collapse. Sarah pushed open the door.
Oh my God.
And the smell hit them like a wave dam. Rotting wood mixed with the faint metallic tang of blood. Inside, the lobby was unrecognizable. The walls were smeared with dark streaks, as if something or someone had dragged bloody hands across them. The once dim lighting was now almost non-existent. A single bulb flickering weakly overhead, casting distorted shadows that seemed to shift on their own.
Mom, this place, it's like it's alive.
Sarah didn't respond. She simply stood in the middle of the room, clutching her chest as she stared at the warped staircase leading to the second floor. For a moment, none of them moved, paralyzed by the oppressive, suffocating air of the inn. The creaking of the warped staircase seemed to echo endlessly in the darkness above. Emily and Lily stopped halfway up, clutching the railing as the flickering light from the reception barely reached them.
I don't think we should go up there. It feels wrong.
It's too dark. And who knows what's even up there?
You're right. Let's head back down. Maybe there's a phone at the reception.
They descended carefully, the air around them heavy with unease, each step creaking under their weight as though the inn itself was protesting their presence. When they reached the bottom, the reception area of the inn loomed in the dim, flickering light, its air heavy with decay. Dust coated every surface, and the stale scent of mildew mixed with something faintly metallic, like rust or perhaps blood. The old desk, cracked and warped with time, sat beneath a single bulb struggling to stay alight.
John must come back soon. He wouldn't just leave us like this, would he?
He said he'd be back. He probably got delayed, right?
I don't like this place, Mom. Can't we just leave? Find help somewhere else?
We don't have signal, Lily. If Joan comes back and we're gone, what then? No, I'll leave a note here. He'll see it when he returns.
Sarah rummaged through the cluttered desk, finding a dusty piece of paper and a pen that barely worked. She scribbled a message.
John, as soon as you return, call me, please. I can't wait any longer. After you went to the forest, they are coming.
Mom, that note? I think I've seen it before.
What are you talking about?
I don't know. It's just familiar, like I've already read it, but I can't explain how.
Sarah stared at Emily for a moment, her brow furrowed, before shaking her head and placing the note prominently on the desk.
It doesn't matter. It's done now.
Oh, shit! Who's calling? Nobody's been here in years?
I don't know, but I'm gonna answer.
Sarah picked up the receiver slowly, her hand shaking. She pressed it to her ear, but there was no static, only silence, thick and heavy, until a faint, trembling voice broke through.
You need to leave. This place. It's not safe.
Who is this? What do you mean it's not safe?
The forest. The spirits. They are coming. The word. Find the word. It's your only way out. Believe. You must believe.
What? What did they say?
They said we need to leave, but they mentioned a word, something we need to find.
A word? What does that mean?
None of them spoke further, the silence of the reception now heavier than before. The single bulb above them flickered, casting jagged shadows on the walls, as if the inn itself was listening. The dim hallway stretched before them, its air heavy and still, as if the building itself was holding its breath. Emily squinted ahead, her eyes catching the faint glimmer of something metallic on the wall, a large, ornate clock.
Mom, look at that! The clock!
The clock was massive, its brass frame tarnished and warped, as though it had been left to rot for decades. Its face was cracked, The glass covering it splintered, and the numbers seemed to shimmer faintly in the dim light. But something was wrong. The hands of the clock were moving backward, slowly and steadily.
Why is it going backward? That's not right.
Emily leaned in, her fingers tracing the edge of the cracked glass. The numbers appeared to shift under her gaze, flickering between clarity and distortion, as if the clock itself couldn't decide what time it was.
It's not just broken, it's like it's stuck in reverse. Like time is unwinding.
I don't like this, Emily. It feels wrong. Like it's watching us.
Emily stepped back, feeling a chill run down her spine. She pulled out her diary and scribbled hurriedly.
The clock is moving backward. The glass is cracked. And the numbers don't stay still. It's as if time isn't real here. Like it's trying to pull us out of the present.
Emily, stop. We don't have time for this. It's just a broken clock. We need to focus on finding something useful.
Emily hesitated, her gaze lingering on the shifting hands of the clock. The cracks in the glass seemed to form shapes vague, indistinct, but the longer she looked, the more they resembled branches, twisting and curling like the trees outside.
Let's go. It's giving me the creeps.
Emily reluctantly closed her diary and followed her mother and sister down the hallway. But as they walked away, she couldn't shake the feeling that the clock wasn't just broken, it was a warning. A reminder that the rules of time and reality no longer applied here. Emily clutched her diary tightly as they huddled in one of the least decayed rooms of the inn. The air was heavy, the faint creaking of the building settling around them. Despite the chaos and fear, her pen moved across the pages as if compelled by an unseen force. The words flowed faster than her thoughts, as if the diary itself demanded to record the horrors unfolding around them.
The forest doesn't follow the rules of our world. Time feels off. The shadows move when no one's there in the trees. They're not just trees, it's like they're watching us, waiting.
Why are you writing? We should be figuring out how to get out of here.
I don't know. I just feel like I have to, it's important.
Emily, focus. We don't have time for journaling right now. We need a plan.
Emily hesitated, looking down at the pages filled with hurried scribbles. Words and fragments stared back at her, some she couldn't even remember writing.
It's like I'm not the one writing, like the diary wants me to remember something.
That's just creepy. Emily, stop it. It's not going to help.
Emily ignored her sister's protest, flipping back through the pages. Each entry seemed to grow darker, more frantic, the handwriting messier with every page.
They're alive. The forest, the trees. They know we're here. They're not just watching. They're hungry.
What do you mean, hungry? That's not possible. It's just your imagination getting the better of you.
Then how do you explain this? I didn't write this. At least, I don't remember writing it.
This place is getting to all of us. We need to leave.
Sarah grabbed the diary and scanned the pages. Her brow furrowed as she read, her hands trembling slightly.
No, it's just your stress. You're just imagining things. It's a coping mechanism.
No, Mom. This diary knows more than we do. It's not just me. It's like it's warning us.
Sarah hesitated, holding the diary at arm's length, as though it might suddenly burst into flames. The words seemed to pulse faintly under the dim light, almost alive.
I don't know how, but I think this is the only thing keeping us safe right now. And maybe it's the only way we'll find out how to escape.
Upstairs, the air seemed thicker, colder, as if the house itself was holding its breath. Each step creaked under their weight, the sound reverberating unnaturally in the oppressive silence. Emily hesitated at the top of the staircase, her knuckles white as she gripped her diary.
I think we should go any further.
We need to understand what's happening here. Stay close.
The hallway stretched ahead of them, its walls warped and discolored with streaks that looked too dark to be rust. At the far end, a door stood ajar, shadows spilling out like black ink.
Do you hear that?
A faint creaking noise echoed from the room, rhythmic and deliberate. It sounded like something rocking back and forth, slow and steady.
It's coming from there. That room.
No, I'm not going in there. Whatever it is, I don't want to see it.
We're already here. We need to check.
As they crept toward the door, the creaking grew louder, each movement a sharp reminder of how alone they were in this decayed and forgotten place. When they reached the doorway, Sarah hesitated, her hand hovering over the door.
Stay behind me.
She pushed the door open slowly, the hinges groaning in protest. Inside, the room was cloaked in shadow, save for a sliver of moonlight cutting through the grime-covered window. And there, in the center of the room, sat an old, decrepit baby carriage. Its faded fabric sagged, and the wheels, rusted with age, creaked faintly as it rocked. On its own.
It's moving. How is it moving?
The rocking suddenly stopped. For a moment, everything was silent. And then it came the sound of a baby's cry, sharp and piercing. echoing from every corner of the room. It was as if the walls themselves were weeping.
Make it stop, please!
Stay here. Don't move.
Sarah stepped toward the carriage, her movements slow and deliberate. The crying grew louder, more anguished, as though whatever was inside was in terrible pain. Her hands trembled as she reached out, gripping the edge of the carriage.
Don't. What if there's something in there?
Sarah ignored the warning, leaning forward. Her breath caught as she peered inside.
What is it? What do you see?
There's nothing. It's empty. It's playing with us. Whatever it is, it's playing with us.
A sudden chill swept through the room, and the carriage began rocking again, violently this time, its wheels screeching as if in anger. The three of them stumbled back, fear clawing at their throats. Sarah grabbed Emily's arm and pulled her toward the door.
What was that? I've never...
Wait, where's Lily? We left her inside.
Open the door! Hurry!
Emily pushed the door open, but what lay beyond froze them in their tracks. The room they had just left, the one with its oppressive shadows and decrepit baby carriage, was gone. In its place was a dense forest. Thick vines snaked across the floor, climbing the walls as if devouring the space. Towering trees stood where the cracked walls had been, their gnarled branches stretching outward like skeletal arms. A faint mist curled around the room, obscuring the ground.
This isn't possible.
Lily, where are you?
They stepped cautiously into the transformed space, their feet sinking slightly into the moss-covered ground. The air was damp and carried the faint metallic tang of decay. Shadows danced across the trees, and then the eyes appeared. Dozens of glowing red eyes blinked open among the trees, piercing through the mist. They didn't just watch, they burned, unblinking, filled with malice.
Mom, we need to leave.
A faint whisper began to grow around them, low and indistinct, like a chorus of voices just out of reach. Sarah's hand flew to her mouth, her body trembling as she scanned the dense forest.
Lily, where are you?
The whispering grew louder, overlapping into an incomprehensible cacophony. The trees seemed to inch closer, their branches reaching, their eyes glowing brighter.
Mom, let's go. No! Now!
What is this place? What's happening here?
God, please help us. We're lost. I don't know what's happening, but if you can hear me, please show us the way out of this nightmare.
What are you doing? This is not the time for
God,
that.
Please help us. We're lost. I don't know what's happening.
Stop this nonsense. We need to think, not play games.
Sarah's panic boiled over, and in a desperate, frantic motion, she slapped Emily across the face. She froze, her cheeks stinging, tears pooling in her eyes. She didn't respond. Slowly she stood, her face pale but calm, her gaze steady on her mother.
I was just trying to help, but okay.
Sarah's chest heaved as she turned away, ashamed and overwhelmed. Without another word, she started walking down the hallway, her steps quick and unsteady. Emily remained for a moment, opening her diary and writing furiously.
I prayed for help, but instead, I got fear. Mom doesn't understand. Maybe she can't. Maybe that's why this place feels so heavy. It's not just the forest. It's what's inside us.
The sound of Sarah's footsteps grew distant, leaving Emily alone for a brief moment. She clutched her diary and followed her mother into the shadows of the hallway. Emily and Sarah wandered deeper into the inn, their footsteps echoing in the oppressive silence. The air felt heavier, each breath laced with the faint scent of decay. At the end of another dim corridor, they noticed a door slightly ajar, its surface scratched and warped, as though clawed by something unnatural.
Do you think Lily could be in there?
I don't know, but we have to check.
Sarah pushed the door open, and the hinges groaned loudly, breaking the silence. Inside, the room was unlike anything they had seen so far. Strange, intricate symbols covered every inch of the walls, carved deep into the wood. Some were painted in faded reds and blacks, forming patterns that seemed to pulsate in the faint light.
What is this place? These markings, they feel wrong.
These look ancient. Could this be connected to the forest?
The symbols, they're not just decorations. They mean something. They're warnings or worse. Invitations.
Emily's gaze wandered to the symbols, her eyes tracing patterns that seemed almost deliberate, like pieces of a larger puzzle. Among them, she noticed an emblem that stood out, a circle with jagged lines radiating outward, resembling the sun but fractured and incomplete.
Look at this one. It's broken. like it was never finished.
Maybe that's the point. Maybe they were trying to stop something or keep something out.
On the far wall, another symbol caught Emily's eye, a handprint smeared in faded red, placed above a jagged arrow pointing downward. She reached out hesitantly, her fingers stopping just short of the marking.
What do you think they were afraid of?
Whatever it was, we don't need to stay here to find out. Let's go.
Emily nodded, but her hand lingered near the wall for a moment longer before she pulled back and closed her diary. They left the room, leaving the strange markings behind, but the questions lingered in their minds. Further down the hall, Emily and Sarah stumbled upon another room, its door hanging crooked on its hinges. The air grew colder as they stepped closer, their breaths visible in the dim light. A faint shimmer caught Emily's eye from within.
Do you see that? It's reflecting something.
Yeah. It's coming from the wall. Let's take a look.
As they entered the room, the source of the reflection became clear. Mounted on the far wall was a large, shattered mirror. The glass, fractured into countless jagged shards, reflected distorted and fragmented images of the room. Each shard seemed to carry a different angle, creating an unnerving patchwork of reality.
It's broken, but it doesn't feel random. Look, the cracks, they almost form a pattern.
Emily traced her finger along one of the larger cracks, her brow furrowing. The shards reflected not just her face, but faint shadows of something. Someone, moving in the fragmented images.
Wait, did you see that?
See what? It's just a broken mirror.
The mirror doesn't just reflect what's in front of it. It's showing something else or someone else. But who or what?
Emily, look here. There's something written. It's hard to read. Looks like...
The truth lies in the cracks.
Emily, we've seen enough. Let's get out of here. There's nothing for us in this room. Emily, we're not alone. Run.
In her panic, Emily's grip on her diary loosened. It slipped from her hands, tumbling to the floor with a dull thud. The worn leather cover slid across the uneven planks before falling into a narrow crack in the floorboards.
My diary.
She dropped to her knees, reaching desperately into the fenda, her fingertips brushing the edge of the diary.
Mom, wait. I need it. It's everything we've seen, everything we've found.
have to go now.
But...
No arguments. Move.
The two stumbled into the main hall, their breaths ragged, their faces streaked with tears. The dim light barely illuminated the large, worn-out sofa in the center of the room. Without a word, they collapsed onto it, their bodies trembling with exhaustion and fear.
Why haven't they come back, Emily? Why hasn't John, Noah? Why hasn't Lily?
I don't know, Mom. It's like this place. It's trying to keep us here.
This isn't right. We should never come here. We should just kept driving.
We'll figure this out, Mom. We'll find them. We'll find a way.
Sarah shook her head, her body racked with quiet sobs. Emily reached out, squeezing her mother's hand as her own tears began to fall. The weight of everything overwhelmed them, and despite the fear, their exhaustion took over. Moments later, the room fell silent as they drifted into a restless sleep. Hours seemed to pass in a blur until Sarah's eyes fluttered open. A faint voice echoed through the room, distant but unmistakable.
Sarah, come outside.
John?
Sarah, I need you.
John? Is that you?
Sarah.
I'm coming.
Hurry.
I'm coming.
Mom? Mom!
The room was empty. Emily's heart sank as she noticed the open door. She ran toward it, stepping outside into the cool night air.
Mom? Mom!
The forest loomed ahead, its dense trees casting shadows under the faint moonlight. At the edge of the porch, her eyes caught something unusual, the large wooden sign that greeted guests. The word welcome was incomplete.
What?
The letter E had fallen to the ground. Emily bent down, picking up the weathered piece of wood.
What is this doing here? Mom? 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 Mom, where are you? Please answer me. Mom, please say something.
Emily stepped deeper into the forest, her feet sinking into the damp earth with each cautious step. The trees around her seemed alive, twisting, creaking, their branches reaching like skeletal arms toward the blackened sky. The dense fog clung to her skin, cold and suffocating, muffling every sound except the pounding of her heart.
God, please help me find them.
Her voice barely broke through the oppressive silence. As she moved further into the abyss, an unshakable feeling crept over her. She was being watched. The shadows around her thickened, bending and shifting unnaturally, as if the forest itself was closing in. Then she saw it.
What is that?
Emerging from the haze was a figure, its form cloaked in darkness. Its body seemed to dissolve into the mist, its shape undefined yet undeniably menacing. Two glowing red eyes pierced through the void, locking onto Emily with a gaze that burned with malice. The air around it seemed to shudder. A suffocating wave of fear pressing down on her. Her legs moved before her mind could process. She turned and ran, the underbrush clawing at her ankles, branches tearing at her clothes. Behind her, the figure didn't move, but the sense of its presence was suffocating, following her like a shadow she couldn't escape. Emily's breath came in ragged gasps as she stumbled forward, her vision blurring with tears. Her faith was the only thing holding her together, a faint light in the overwhelming darkness.
God, give me strength. Please don't let me be alone.
Just as her legs threatened to give out, the fog parted slightly, and a single ray of sunlight broke through the dense canopy above. The warmth touched her face, and for a brief moment, the fear that gripped her heart began to loosen. Ahead of her, a narrow path revealed itself, an opening in the forest she hadn't seen before. The trail was faint, winding between the trees, but it was there.
Thank you.
She wiped her tears and took a step forward, her body trembling but her spirit resolute. The forest remained silent, but the oppressive darkness seemed to ease as she followed the path. Her cries faded into quiet sobs, her faith guiding her through the unknown. Emily trudged along the faint path, her steps heavy with sorrow. Her mind raced with unanswered questions. The weight of her family's disappearances pressing down on her. The forest loomed around her, its oppressive silence broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves.
Why me? What happened to all of you?
The path led her closer to the inn, and as she approached, distant voices reached her ears. She froze, straining to listen, and her heart skipped a beat.
Voices?
She quickened her pace, her shoes crunching against the gravel. The dim light of the clearing came into view, and there it was, their car. Its headlights cut through the mist, the engine idling, and inside were her parents and siblings, alive and well, talking animatedly.
Emily, there you are. What's taking you so long?
Emily stumbled forward, her breath catching in her throat. She reached the car as Sarah rolled down the window.
Where have you been? We've been waiting for you.
Let me guess. Lost in thought again? Probably daydreaming about some boy.
Emily, seriously. We've been calling you. Why can't you focus for once?
I don't understand. How? What's going on? You?
Get in the car, Emily. We're late.
Confused but overwhelmed with relief, Emily climbed into the back seat. The car lurched forward, leaving the ominous clearing behind. As they drove along the winding road, the dense forest passed by in a blur. Emily sat silently, staring out the window. The events of the night churned in her mind, each memory more surreal than the last. For a fleeting moment, she allowed herself to believe it had all been a dream. A faint smile crept onto her face. Her fingers brushed against something in her pocket. She paused, pulling it out a small wooden letter, the letter E worn and weathered from time.
No, it can't be.
Her gaze shifted back to the forest. The trees loomed still and silent, yet they felt alive, watchful. As the car moved past, faint glimmers caught her eye red, desperate, pleading hidden deep within the bark. Emily's breath hitched as the realization crept over her. She gripped the letter tightly, her heart pounding in her chest. The car disappeared down the road, leaving behind the haunting shadows of the forest. The trees stood silent, their secrets buried within the darkness.
What just happened? Was any of it real? Noah, Lily, Mom, Dad. Were they ever really gone? Or the one who's lost? This forest, this place, it's like it's alive, watching, waiting. But why me? What did it want from us? From me? Those eyes, were they asking for help or warning me to leave?
As Emily looks back one last time, the weight of the Ghordan Inn and its sinister forest lingers in the air. Did she truly escape, or was it something else that let her go? The letter E, clutched tightly in her hand, tells us this wasn't just a dream. But what does it mean? Was the forest alive? Were the souls trapped, pleading for release through the eyes that watched her silently from the bark of those ancient trees? And if they were imprisoned, why? What secret does this place hide? What sin binds them here, and what spared Emily? Perhaps the answers lie not in what was seen, but in what was felt, the shadows, the whispers, the eerie reflections. One thing is certain, the forest holds its secrets tightly, and the questions left behind will haunt your thoughts long after this tale fades. If you dare to uncover more stories of suspense, terror, and mystery, join us on this journey. Subscribe now, and don't forget to leave a like if this tale sent chills down your spine. And if you missed the first chapter, click here to begin at the start of Emily's journey. Thank you for watching, and until next time, if you have the courage, or will you let fear keep you away?